Hello, welcome to another segment on Bach Flower Remedies. My name is Denise Eaton. I'm your Bach Flower Registered Practitioner and Animal Practitioner. And today we're going to talk about your pets and their emotions. Bad behavior, or is it they're emotional? What might be instinctual behavior? You know, chasing, digging, some chewing. Those are all basic instincts of most animals. What would not be acceptable is if they were chasing their tail, or they're, lashing out constantly, overly grooming. That's unacceptable. Then those are some of the behaviors that we may want to look at. So for today's segment, we're going to talk more about education. I'm here to educate you as a flower practitioner for animals on what is good behaviors versus bad behaviors, how do you address them, and what you should be looking for, and what you can do to help your animals so they're less occasionally stressed as well as feeling that tension. Now I want to keep you also in mind that the claims that are based today, that we're talking about today, are on traditional homeopathic practices, not accepted medical evidence, and they're not FDA evaluated. First, before you work with your animal, you want to be able to check with your veterinarian to make sure that your animal is physically healthy. There is a time when if you want to, a lot of physical symptoms may cause behavioral issues. So you want to rule that out before you even look at an animal or want to work with them to make sure that those physical symptoms is not causing that emotional. So today I have with me, as you can see, my two lovely dogs, which is Rissa to my right, and Riley, which is right in front of me, and they were both adopted. Rissa was a stray. We got her at 2 years old, and Riley we had since a puppy. And I'll tell you that it was very challenging at first when we first had them into our household. A lot of change. First of all, 2 different species of dogs. They're both female. There was a lot of things that I did not do my homework on to identify whether this would be the right fit for not only our household but for both dogs in general. So I had to work a lot with them when it came to the adjustment. So today I hope I give you a little bit more clarity about how you can prevent some of the things that I have done during the times when we were looking at adopting these animals. So once you ruled out that the animal does not have any physical ailments, you want to stay clear also of putting any anthropomorphism characteristics or traits into what your animal is going through. We can commonly say that we may, feel jealousy, and we have hatred, and we have love. But do we know that our animals feel those same feelings that we do? Most likely, we don't have evidence that is the case. So what you want to do is you just try to avoid that. So for instance, I'll say, if I'm patting my dog Riley, Rissa will come over and she gets all upset and she wants to be patted too. So my husband will say to me, well, Rissa was very jealous. And we don't know that. I don't know if that's something that she would feel. I know that she wants to be patted. I know they got very protective of each other, so they want to make sure that I'm not harming maybe Riley, but jealousy, I don't know. So the reason why I'm saying that is because when you go to treat animals and you're looking at different flower essences, you have to make sure you understand those characteristics, and that you're not putting your own human traits and feelings into treating the animal. Okay, so now how you evaluate. So what I usually do when I want to look at and I'm trying to work with someone with their animals is I will evaluate the situation of what's going on in the environment and all about the animal. So first thing I need to know is that are they social or are they solitary species? Because if they're social species, which dogs and cats usually are, they will need socialization. So if they're isolated, they're not going to have behavioral problems because they need to socialize. Or if they're isolated so much that you go to bring them on to a park where there's lots of dogs and they don't know how to interact with each other because a particular animal has been isolated so much. So you want to know that, and that will help to determine what's going on with that animal. You also want to know whether they're predators or preys. Dogs, cats, they're predators, so they hunt, and it's just natural instinct. So you want them to be able to, unfortunately, you may not want them chasing squirrels or chasing the rabbits, but unfortunately, it's in their blood to do that. So to change that behavior, that's not going to happen. And if they're prey, then they're going to be more scared or skittish. So if you happen to have a household full of, say, rabbits, and you happen to have dogs too, think about what, the rabbit's always gonna feel like they're being attacked because they're always on the lookout because of being preyed. So, and then it'll explain some of the behaviors. Other thing is if they're territorial, or if they're home range, or if they're nomadic, because their environment is key to how they protect it. So if they're territorial, they're gonna protect their environment more. So if they're lashing out because of someone comes into the yard and that's what, that's their territory, then they're gonna be more territorial because it's in their bred, inside their species or what they do. Now, if they're, say, home range, like horses or cattle, they need space. So if you have a small area that they're confined to, they're gonna show a lot of behavioral issues only because they need that space to roam. And the same with nomadics. They don't stay in one place. So if you have, say, a bird, if you have turtles, and you keep them in one little tank, okay, you're depriving them, obviously, of their freedom because they don't stay in the same area. Their homes are never in the same location twice. So this is, again, when you're looking at, these are some of the things that I want you to keep into consideration when you want to work with animals and how to identify where the behaviors are coming from. Also, are they able to behave properly? And what is proper? What is the normal behaviors? Is it that the animal, can go digging and you're not allowing them to dig? Can the animal, sniff the way they want to sniff? Is that, are they able to be free to be able to act normally? And if they're not, or we call it deprived of their freedoms, then, you're gonna have some behavioral issues. And what do I mean by freedoms? When you talk about the freedoms, I base this by a study that was done by Professor Roger Bramble, and he was asked to do an investigation on farm animals and the well-being and the welfare of farm animals and how they're being treated. And what he came up with is 5 freedoms that he felt that when the animal was deprived of these freedoms, that you had major stress to the animal as well as behavioral problems. And I kind of base those freedoms on when I look at animals to see if they're behaving inappropriately, like are they lacking these freedoms, okay? First freedom is, do they have the freedom to have food and thirst? Are they in an area where they don't have water, or they don't have enough food? Are they starving? I mean, what is it that, they have that freedom to have that flexibility to be able to eat and drink when they want to? Do they have the freedom to roam freely? Or are they confined to an area? Are they confined to crates? Are they chained up? Are they in stables that are only, so big when they don't have, when they're supposed to be free to roam and they're not freely roaming? So what is their space like? Do they have freedom from pain, injury, disease? Are they properly being treated? Do they have, are they getting their shots, and are they going to the vet and getting all those treatments that they should to prevent those diseases? Are they able to behave normally, as we discussed? Can they sniff? Can a dog sniff each other's butts? Is that appropriate for me? I wouldn't care for it, but I mean, it is appropriate for a dog to do that. They get all that information. It's their greeting. But then if you're walking in, you happen to have 2 dogs meet, and one grabs the leash and brings them back because they're sniffing each other's butt. Now you give mixed signals to the dog that what is instinctual to them that they knew that they were supposed to be able to do it. Now they can't do that. So what is the behavior? Can they act normally? And then fear of any distress. I mean, do they have fears? Are they in an environment that's constantly fearful to them or causing them a lot of distress? And if it is, you're going to have behaviors. So think about it. So if you're looking at the animal in general, and you based by those 5 freedoms, and if they're able to maintain and then everything seems normal, then you can go from there. Or if they're not normal, then you know that they're in some kind of stress, and that's when you're going to want to give them some help. So what can we do? What kind of stresses do the dogs feel? Stresses can be caused, dominance can be caused by stress, fears, being overly needy. It could be being spooked very easily. It could be shy, timid, grieving, shock, loss, any of those, thunderstorms, noises, stranger anxiety. Those are all things that cause occasional stress and tension to your animal. Okay, so now we sit there and we go, what do we do about it? How can we help your animal if the animal's in stress? Well, we would recommend Rescue Remedy Pet. Now, Rescue Remedy Pet is made of 5 of the flower essence, a 38 flower essence category, 5 that's best for that crisis or that stressful situation. So what flowers would be best for the animal? So in here there's Star Bethlehem. Star Bethlehem helps when you help neutralize the trauma. We have Rock Rose to help with that panic fearful moment, get that control, that courage back into your animal. Cherry plum to maintain control during the situation. Empathians for patience, and then clematis to keep you present, to keep that animal focused during that moment. And this will help give your animal that composure during that time when you're feeling occasional stress and tension. Now, again, what causes it? This was good before for going to the vet, to thunderstorms, to stranger anxiety. Sometimes it could just be the littlest things. Maybe you know, they don't like cats, or they don't like you know, certain things in the environment that cause them to be spooked a lot easier. Maybe just shy. Maybe you're trying to train them and they're not, you know, taking that very well. New adjustments to home, something like that. Maybe something you could do to the causes stress. So what you would just do is you would give it to them prior to up to reaching up the stress. Now, as you can see, my dogs are not very stressed right now, so I was going to show how I could actually administrate to them. But basically, what you would do is just, you know, give it to them orally, but keep in mind, just, you know, try not to put the pipet directly in the mouth. What I usually do is just put it in the palm of my hands and let them lick it, and that would be it. Now, you can check with your veterinarian if you want to, if it's, you know, okay to put it in your their water and their food on a treat. You can put it in a spritzer, spray their bedding, any way to get it into them. But you also want to make sure it's more of a preventative. Don't do it at the time of stress, because when an animal's stressed, most likely they're not going to want to take administrate any preventative or want any help, because they're that out of control stress. So what I try to do is look at the preventative. So if you know your animals, if this one here, she does not like thunderstorms, any loud noises, fireworks, thunderstorms. So when I know that's coming, I give it to her ahead of time. And then I make sure I put her in a secure room where there's not as much vibration, because it's more about a vibration, you know, noise level, and that will keep her calm, because she will actually soak a whole bedding if she's on a bed, and because that's how she just pants, she gets so upset, okay? Otherwise, she'd be fine. So I try to do it ahead of time. If I wait to that moment, then at that point it's out of control. So try to do it preventative. If you're going to the vet, give it to them ahead of time. If you're, you know there's going to be fireworks, you know, first of all, if you know that they freak out of fireworks, don't bring them to where they have fireworks. Put them in a room, give them the rescue pet ahead of time as well, okay? So it's more trying to do it as a preventative. In any case, you always want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself and that you protect yourself, because they are animals and you just don't know, they're more reactive. So if they are in stress, lots of times they may lash out, they might bite, they might nip, and that may be out of your control. But try to prevent that. You just don't, you just want to keep yourself safe as when you're dealing with animals as well. Okay. So they look pretty content to me. They don't look too stressed at all. And I think that, I don't know, maybe we should go for WALKs. But anyway, that'll get them to perk up. I thank you so much for attending today, and I hope this helped a bit. If you want to go to our website, Remedies.com, you can look for practitioners, animal practitioners that may help you to identify which, especially if you want to go dabble a little bit more into individual remedies. You also, you can look at BFRP.com to learn more about rescue pet as well. Stay tuned next month. We're going to talk about summer celebrations and how to overcome the overindulgence of what the summer brings on to us. So I'd like to have you join us at that point. So as always, thank you for sharing with your time with me, and be all that you can be.